Good Sunday morning to you all, and welcome to a brand new edition of Holding Court here on the First Day Hoops Report. On the First Day Hoops Report, really? First Day Hoops Report YouTube channel. I am First Day Hoops Report founding editor and Holding Court host Chris Stevens. Hopefully, you all are doing well out there. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I feel awful. Which is probably people are probably wondering, "Hey, Chris, where's the highlights from Sally's in Sanford and Howard St. E?" I'll get to him today, man. But the early, late part of this week, I felt like I got hit by a truck. I didn't literally get hit by a truck, but cold season is still active out here. So please take your vitamin C. Please, mask up if you still, do the mask thing. Because cold season is still real out here. And I feel like I got hit by a truck. Like I literally, this morning, as I'm recording this Sunday morning, this is the first morning I've woken up and not felt like garbage in the last 3 or 4 days. So hopefully this means I'm turning the corner and I'll be in good shape for the last week of the season, which is going to be a fun one, which we'll get to in a second. But before all of that, all the contact information, all of our social media accounts, our official website, and of course the link to donate, because I'm still trying to raise money to get my car back on the road, or at least figure out a car situation in the interim. All that information will be in the description below. Feel free to follow us there. And if you feel so moved after watching all the videos that I put together, all the stories that I've written, and you feel like, you find it in your heart that, hey, he could use a little bit of money to get his car back on the road, I am more than welcome. I am more than glad that you would be able to help me in that way. So, okay, state tournament week. It's been an interesting one. Last night's quarterfinals, the 2 games that I did, it ended up being the best 2 games of the day, honestly, because Middletown got ahead of St. Mark's and never trailed. Same thing for Dover at Dover against St. George's, but Sal's and Sanford was nip and tuck most of the way, and Sanford, to their credit, never gave in. And Khalid Hart, in his first year on the job as head coach, deserves a ton of credit. Obviously, he's a Sanford guy. He was the point guard on the three-peat championship team from 2010 to 2012. Played his college ball, Division I Marist, played some ball overseas. Like, he knows the game. And his staff, of course, his former Sanford guys, Tony Washam, Earl Miller, those guys, they know Sanford basketball. So that Sanford team was never going to quit. Make no mistakes about it. Sal's just had a little bit more left in the tank. And it was interesting because Sal's didn't score the first 5.5 minutes of the fourth quarter. They were up 10 going into the fourth, and I said, okay, Sanford has to start making – actually, they were up 8. It was 40-32. I thought it was 40-30. Then I just remembered, no, it was 40-32. And I was like, Sanford got to start making some inroads at some point in this fourth quarter. Then, of course, they scored the first 6 points of the fourth quarter. It took them 5.5 minutes to score 6 points in the fourth quarter, but they were close as 40-38. They're actually as close as 46-45 in the final seconds. But Sal's just always had an answer. Either it was Henson, it was Hines, it was Robbie Johnson Jr., and Sanford had looks to tie. And Sean Green pointed this out to me later on in the evening as we were all getting ready to leave St. Elizabeth after that game, which we'll talk about in a second. Kareem Hart had 2 good looks, and he was inconsolable. We're not athletes, but we deal with disappointment in our lives daily. Something doesn't go our way, something doesn't go how planned. It can be very frustrating. I can't imagine having 2 good looks and not being able to come through, and you come through most of the time. But Sean pointed out a great piece of sportsmanship to me that I missed because I was, scribbling down some stuff, and that Justin Hines went over to, console Kareem Hart. And as much as we're, in this stage now where we have to have handshakes before the game even starts, that's a nice reminder that sometimes we just need to let the kids, do things how they do things. And that, to me, says a lot about the kids that people want. To me, what I'm trying to say here is, what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that shows me that a lot of these kids are not lost causes like some of these adults like to claim that they are. And we'll talk more about that in a second, how adults are honestly getting in the way of a great state tournament. We'll talk about that in a second. But overall, Sal's, they're the state champs until further notice. And they're not going to blow you away. Yeah, Yeah, yes, they beat DMA by 30-something points, but most of the time they're not going to blow you away. They're just going to find a way to get it done when it counts. And that was true on Saturday afternoon. And, of course, they will face number 1 St. Elizabeth, which was my second game of the day. And Howard stayed with them right up until the final minutes, probably about last 3 or 4 minutes is when St. E kind of sort of like, finally put some distance between them. And this was a Howard team who had a tough regular season. Like, they were 13-7. They didn't get a first-round bye. And the bracket this year was very interesting from a perspective that if Howard and Penn are on a different side of the draw, they absolutely make the Final Four. Make no mistake about it. But Howard had a really good run. They were able to hold off McCain. They went to William Penn, won in a really tough environment there, which is always tough to play there. They won there. And they had St. E's on the ropes for a good while. And credit goes to Rasan Matthews, Billy DeMacio, Devon Robinson. Just a great job coaching. And that Howard team, yes, they lose a lot. They lose R.J. Matthews. They lose Jamal Johnson. They lose Robert Kelly. They lose Tion Jenkins. They lose Corey Herring. But a lot of that team comes back, and a lot of those guys, because Chase Simmons was hurt. He was supposed to play a big role coming up in this tournament. He got hurt. Mink Handy got hurt last week. A couple of the bigs failed off the team. I know they're hopefully getting their academic act together so they can rejoin the team next year. So, and Desai Drummond got hurt as well. He's probably going to be a starting quarterback for football next year, but he played a lot of key minutes in like power forward spots for Howard, and that probably, his absence more than anyone else, is probably what hurt Howard against St. Elizabeth. But that Howard team is going to be back next year. You can say that about every Final Four team, every Elite Eight team that didn't go to the Final Four this year. St. George's still has a lot of young talent. St. Mark's is a very young team. Howard has a lot of kids coming back. Sanford has 99.9% of his team coming back. Jordan Spencer was the only senior. So you could easily make the case that the teams that lost in the Elite Eight this year could be the Final Four teams next year. But St. Elizabeth, 21-1, best team in the state right now. They just have a way of getting it done. And I was leaning over talking to Bruce Wayne, of course, who was on the show last week. He was like, St. E's is playing terrible, and they're still only down 1. They're only down 2. And I'm like, the run is coming. The run is coming. And because St. E has this, as I've said many times on this podcast before, they have this innate ability to hit the switch whenever they feel like it's pressing to hit that switch. And it just happened to be, middle of the fourth quarter when Howard, finally started, slowing down. They couldn't get the shots that they wanted. And St. E finally started, speeding them up a little bit and getting to the rim a little more. And, of course, that's how it turned out. So your Final Four for the boys on Thursday, March 6th is number 1, St. Elizabeth. Number 4, Salesiana. Number 2, Dover. Number 3, Middletown. Those are going to be some primetime matchups. So if the moment those tickets go on sale, you guys got to start clicking, man. You got to start clicking. Like immediately. Just get to your phones, get to your laptops, just get busy. Because that is going to be a sellout. That is going to be a crazy Thursday night situation. And I'm very much looking forward to being there. Hopefully I'll be feeling a lot better by then. And we'll all be treated to what I feel like is going to be a Final Four for the books, because you can make the argument that the top 4 teams advanced all the way through. Sanford, again, depending on draw, you can make a case that they're a top 4 team, but the top 4 seeds went chalk, and that's all you can ask for as far as, a state tournament going, the way it's supposed to go. You've got 21-1 St. Elizabeth. You've got 20-2 Dover. You've got 18-4 Middletown. No, 18-5 Middletown, excuse me. And you've got 14-8 Salesiana. Of course, Salesiana has played that, that gauntlet of a schedule that includes a lot of out-of-state teams. So, yeah, the top 4 advanced. You can't ask for anything better. And Thursday is going to be a madhouse. Like, there's going to be so much intensity, so much energy, so much enthusiasm in the air. It's going to be a great atmosphere. So get your tickets now. But as soon as the DIA and and the box office say these tickets are on sale, start clicking because they're gonna go fast. And I can't get you any tickets. I'm sorry. Anybody. I mean, yeah, I was thinking about it because the Howard one. I know people because I'm a Howard alum, and I know so many people like, hey, Chris, can you get me some tickets? And I man say, hey, man, I can't do nothing for you. I'm just a media guy. But yeah, be sure to get those tickets fast before they run out, man, because it's gonna be a great event. The entire weekend is going to be great. And that brings me to the girls' quarterfinals, which tip off tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Every game is at 7 p.m. once again. So you can only pick one. But you've got number 1 Caravel versus number 24 Smyrna. Can't wait to talk about Smyrna. Number 2 Ursuline versus number 10 Dover. Number 3 St. Elizabeth versus number 6 Sanford. And number 5 AI DuPont versus number 13 Howard. Yes, we are guaranteed a Flight B team in the girls' Final Four. Think about how crazy that is. And we have 4 public schools in the Elite 8 for the girls. 4. Half the field. As someone who's always complained about, public schools getting the short end of the stick, the girls have shown up, man. The guys have too, honestly. But the girls showing up is just really, really impressive. And it's time that we start thinking about some of these coaches, like the Eric Gumses of the world, the Curtis Clacks, the Lucky Prices, the Jahi Davenports. Like, if you give those guys and a few of the women's and a few of the coaches, a few more of the coaches on the girls' side at public schools, if you give them the resources that, John Noonan has, or Marcus Thompson has, and Ty Taylor has, or Larry Banks has, we're talking about, some balanced programs here. And for AI, who didn't even have a team during that first pandemic year, because people forget that my Trader scored 1,000 points in 3 years as a girls player, because during the pandemic year, when fans weren't allowed in the gym, we all had to wear masks and stuff. She was playing for the boys, and so she still scored 1,000 points in 3 years eventually, and that's lucky, getting that program to a point where people want to go play at AI DuPont now. And the same can be said for Curtis Clack, because he's had Howard, at or near the top of Flight B for almost 15 years. And this is an interesting situation because these two teams have played before, obviously. Howard and AI or Flight B rivals. AI won that game 64-54 about 2 months. No, not 2 months ago, just about a month ago, excuse me. Well, a little over a month ago, we'll say. And that game really didn't fall out of favor for Howard until AI went on that. AI has like this incredible third quarter burst every time I've seen them play. Like I said about St. E's being able to turn the switch on whenever they want to, AI just picks the third quarter to turn the switch on, and that's it. So that's something that Howard's going to be and not only is Howard going to have to be mindful of keeping AI within their sights in the first half, they got to watch them coming out of the locker room, because AI is one of the best teams out of the locker room I've seen this year. And that, to me, is where the game will probably, be decided, the first 2 or 3 minutes of the third quarter. Because AI just, they start that third quarter like bang, 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 bang. It's like, oh, wow, okay. Well, this was fun. Thanks for showing up. But Howard doesn't have the girls' history that most of these other schools have. AI has won, state championships, been to Final Fours before on the girls' side. Of course, it's been years ago. I mean, AI was one of the first 5 girls teams to win the championship under the legendary Karen Cohn in I want to say, was it 76 or 77? I had to go back and check my records. But yeah. And then they had Final Four team with Monica Peterson, Tracy Howell, early 2000s, Marquita Hollingsworth. That AI had a really good program for girls once upon a time. And then it just kind of like fell off because of the way public schools just kind of like faded away. But, it started with Carmen Del Campo. We can't leave Coach Del Campo out. She had them winning Flight B when no one expected them to even field the team. And then when the team, fell off and Luck came in and, he picked it back up. But AI doesn't, they don't feel like saving that program if Carmen Del Campo and Michaela Carter don't lift that team to a Flight B championship in 2020. So that first Flight B championship team for AI deserves a ton of credit. And that's gonna be a fun game. That's where I'm gonna be Monday. Make no mistake about it. That's where we're going to be Monday. So everybody who thought I was going to go to one of the private school games, sorry. They'll be in the Final Four. I mean, I'll see them there. But we can talk about the other games as well. And we can talk about number 1 Caravel versus number 24 Smyrna. That game, people can say that it's going to be a wash, but you can't discount Smyrna for a second. Number one, they probably had no business being a 24. None. And Sean Green made a great point that, yeah, they were 1-7 against tournament teams, but that should still count for something. I mean, that's the one tweak I would make to the point index thing, is that you should be rewarded more for playing state tournament teams, even if you do lose, quite honestly. Because that Smyrna team had no business being a 24. They got a favorable draw, though. I mean, Archmere, great team, but I felt like they were going to have trouble with the guard play because Kai Burnett and Amaya Ellerby are just like revelations in that respect. And, of course, Talani Pierce and Skylar Curley are rebounding machines. And I felt like Smyrna's aggressiveness was going to work out in their favor in that game. And I felt like they were just going to be a better team the second time around against Apo. And Apo had a very talented team this year. But they just couldn't turn it on, at certain points. I mean, Apo was 2-7 at one point, or 2-6 rather. And a lot of that was because they played out-of-state games. But, you fall behind that fast, it's tough to catch up. I don't care who you are. And it just felt like Smyrna was a team of destiny up until a point. And then a lot of that team is going to, they'll be back, but they'll get a lesson in championship basketball against Caravel. Because Larry Banks has probably the best 1 through 6 rotation in the state right now. When you take into account the 4 guards, Speedy Wilson, Cherish Bryant, Josiah Crawford, and Nia Price. When you take into account Bryson Strickling and Jordan Tate as your centers and forwards. So Caravel should win that one, but Smyrna probably won't make it easy for them because, who expected a 24 to be this close to the Final Four? And Eric Gums and his assistant coach / wife, Danielle Parker Gums, deserve a ton of credit for getting that Smyrna program back up and running to a point where now they'll probably be one of the favorites in the Henlopen North next year. Dover returns a lot. Cape, of course, returns a lot. But Smyrna's going to make that a very interesting 3-team race next year. So, Smyrna deserves a ton of credit. And, it's going to be tough for them against Caravel, but they won't fold. They will not fold. The 2 versus 10, Dover has had a really nice season. Of course, they won the Henlopen North and the Henlopen Conference overall. They go to Ursuline. And this is an Ursuline team. This is their time of reckoning, honestly. They've had a really rough stretch. They lost to Caravel. They lost to Ursuline. They kind of didn't lose to themselves. They lost to Sanford. They lost to Caravel. They lost to Sanford. And then they went to Long Island Lutheran, the number 2 team in the country, and found out very quickly why Long Island Lutheran is the number 2 team in the country. And now they have to, gear themselves back up for a tournament run. Yes, they were able to handle St. Mark's, and I feel like they should be able to handle Dover, but Dover has just a little more depth than St. Mark's does, particularly at the forward spots, because you've got Sarah Ziana Benton, who's really good, Ashton Torbert on the wing, the Milstead twins, they can give you good minutes. So this isn't going to be a walkthrough, but it still should be a point where Ursuline advances. I don't think, anything outside of Ursuline beating Dover would be like one of the biggest upsets in the history of the tournament, I feel like. But you can't discount it, though. But, again, I'm saying Ursuline should win that one. The one that everyone's probably going to be watching is, of course, number 3 St. Eve versus number 6 Sanford. I told you guys before I went to that first matchup when they played February 3rd, and that's when Marcus Thompson's kids opened my eyes. I was like, okay, maybe we just didn't give them enough attention in the preseason because they were playing like all of these out-of-state games. But yeah, this Sanford team didn't lose to a Delaware team all year. And I don't think that'll happen again on Monday. And I don't think they'll lose to a Delaware team on Monday. They've got just so much that you can, plug and play. Tyler Edwards is probably one of the – if it wasn't for Gigi and Taylor, Tyler would probably be the best defensive guard in the state. Jada Snow, who's been able to be freed up to play a little bit more of the role that she plays out of season in AAU ball as like the point guard / point forward. She looks way more comfortable in that role. Naomi Allen cleaning up on the boards. Asia Adams knocking down 3-point shots. this Sanford team is going to be a favorite next year. I don't know. I mean, you can't discount them winning the championship this year, quite honestly, because again, they haven't lost to anybody in Delaware. Period. They've beaten the 3 teams that are, the Blue Bloods. I mean, the 4 Blue Bloods in this state for girls basketball: Sanford, Ursuline, Caravel, St. Anne. And Ursuline and Sanford beat all 3 this year. So, I mean, of course, St. Anne's going to have home court advantage. Erica Huggins is not going out without a fight. Don't get it twisted by any stretch of the imagination. It wouldn't surprise me if she had another one of her patented 30-point, 20 rebound, 7 block type of games. But Sanford might just have a little bit more across the board. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Sanford wins that one. I didn't give you guys a pick for A.I. Howard. I'm torn because I know both of these coaches. I know both of these programs. It's like, dang, somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to lose. I just think AI has just a little bit more, especially with the front court depth. So, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say AI. So, your girls' Final Four, my predictions: Caravel, Ursuline, Sanford, AI DuPont. Now, the next edition of Home Court won't be until after championship Saturday, so you guys won't be able to bust my chops about that until the postseason edition of Home Court takes shape. But yeah, that's pretty much where we are right now with the state tournament. And I said I was going to talk about something very important, but I think I'll save it for the end of the regular season because I don't want to take away from the games. And I just came to that decision because, number one, I still feel terrible. I'm actually ready to get back in bed, honestly. It's like 9:45, and I'm still ready to just like lay down and try to recalibrate myself until I can maybe venture out later to get some more things. Yeah, my throat is starting to get scratchy. And so, yeah, it's time to end this edition of Home Court. But yes, should be a good Final Four for boys and girls. We're going to have a championship Saturday. We'll have our unified game at 12. Shouts out to John Busby, the unified chair. He does a wonderful job with that. We'll have the girls at 2 p.m. and the guys at 6 on Saturday, March 9th. Going to be a blast. Very much looking forward to bringing y'all that coverage and talking with y'all about it. So thank y'all for watching this edition of Home Court. Greatly appreciate y'all's time as always. Once again, all the information will be in the description below. So until we see each other at the Bob this week, take care of yourselves and each other.